biggest pen in Chattanooga. I'm fighting with Dave Crockett over who is the leading Nooga centrist. He claims to be the former city council member and I guess the leading environmentalist. He claims to be Nooga centrist number one. And I say it's me. I'm more current. He's sort of out of the picture, but he is a minister without portfolio on other projects that we'll hear about soon. I'm confident. Again, it's David Tulis. We are local economy and free markets in Chattanooga and beyond. That's our theme here on the David Tulis program every morning at 9 o'clock. Tell a friend about my program, and it'll be great for my numbers. That'll double my listenership. I mean, that'll give a 100% gain if you tell your friend about me. And I love stroking myself with gains like that. So just give me a boost and make sure you like me on Facebook as well, and join in. We can watch us live there. And listen, we're always live on Facebook. Okay, always live there, which means to say that even if there's no live person here in the studio, all of our shows, Sean Hannity, Bloomberg News, and all the rest, Alex Jones, the fiery patriot Alex Jones, also live on your Facebook feed. So feel free to do that. Just keep Facebook open and make note of what we have to offer. Also live on a digital channel. I love digital. I love the high fidelity, and that's called high definition 4, and that's 95.3 HD4. And also on the regular old-fashioned FM signal, that's 92.7. We love 92.7, just a great number. It just flows off my lips like music. Speaking of which, we want to hear about a man who's run a successful business here in Chattanooga in the music field. And we do think that you should always love your neighbor and buy local. And I think probably in the music instruction realm, that's really what you have to do, because all coaches, all tutors and instructors in music are local. And I don't think there are any national chains. We'll hear about the competition in that field in just a minute. But his name is John Colston, and he runs Music Instruction Studio, which began in 2004. He and his wife, Marissa, they have a son, Alex, who's now 12, starting this business and making a go of it. Now, there's big news in this business, and I would say by providence, we're going to hear now about what happened, and that is a retreat and retraction from one part of that business, the Music Instruction Studio, that kept profit out of the purse of the Colston family. Now, it's a business that had been going for many years without a profit, but if you're in business and you love what you're doing and you care about what you're doing, you have to realize that profit may not come immediately. There's going to have to be subsidization of your enterprise. There's going to have to be going without being paid. And John Colston is here nodding, going without being paid. And you're investing in who you are and what you're doing. And finally, you finally reach a point where all the bills are being paid and there's some left over. And what is that called, John Colston?
That's profit.
That's profit. So, what's the news about this retraction? You had 2 studios. You started about 2.5 years ago.
Correct.
Studio number 3. But, all right, tell the story about how you got to that but.
Well, so 2.5 years ago, we opened up a 3rd location in Cleveland. The folks up there are very nice people. They jumped in, and it looked like we were. It just, I relay it up as a God thing. We got in there real fast, and we found a building. I got teachers, and obviously, you're starting on a negative cash flow just because you're getting in there. You have to pay first and last month's rent and whatnot.
Utilities? Yeah, deposits for utilities.
Well, yeah,
EPB. Right?
Well, I wish it was, but up there it was charter.
Okay.
But everything just clicked into place. I can't explain it. And so I always said, well, we're supposed to be here.
Free gain in the market.
Yeah.
It seemed.
And so we rushed in there, and over the course of 2.5 years, though, we never could get beyond 30 to 40 students. And of course, with the rent, that's like $1,600 a month, and our utilities, I eventually just had to make the decisions like, okay, we're going to stop here because it's starting to bleed out profitability out of the other 2 studios. And I love those folks up there. I love the teachers. Some of the teachers are going to come down and teach here in Chattanooga. And, it's going to be Something
Well,
that's
say something about payroll. You had a third music instruction studio like the one you have. Well, just quickly, you, my listener, need to know if you have children. There's one here in Hickson on Hickson Pike, right next to just near the cartridge.
Loopy's and that.
Yeah, right near
place.
Loopy's there. And then the other one is on East Brainerd Road. It is in the little plaza where you find Wright's Jewelers and Greg's Sandwich Works. Great place to get a sandwich, by the way. So that's your second one.
Yes.
Now, in the third one in Cleveland, which was open for about, you said 2.5 years?
2.5 years.
You had a payroll, but what do you mean by payroll? What was involved with that? Someone had to sit there the whole day?
Well, I have to pay the instructors, obviously, to teach. And
they come in just for the lessons.
They come in for the lessons. I have an admin.
Yes, they're contractors.
Yeah. I have an admin. Now, we're a very digital business. And so, luckily, our phone systems is a web-based phone system. So if it rung at one location, it rung at all locations. And so I didn't have to have someone in the office 24/7 because we could handle office calls here in Chatty. But the main thing was the teacher payroll, because they make I pay my teachers pretty well. And anything that come in, I'd have that would come in every 2 weeks. And so it was, by the time I paid the payroll, paid the rent and everything else, I wasn't doing it.
And if you'd had just more than 35 students, if you'd had, let's say 55 or 60, would that have been enough to keep that location?
Yeah. We would get close to 50 and then it would just, and so what I did was I come back and I started, okay, who all teaches music in this area? And what I found was there was a lot of churches up there that has music programs. And there's nothing wrong with that, but
that's the competition.
Yeah,
though.
and so they don't have to market. They've got a captured audience, so to speak, with their parishioners. And then you have Lee University. All these guys and gals going to Lee on studying music. They're all teaching privately, and so it was just an overload of competition. I like to say that we have the biggest marketing flag that's out there. But I was getting undercut with
let me just ask about the process, John, of expanding. Now, my listener, he's thinking of expanding too. What kind of research had you done beforehand, and were you had you missed something in gauging that step, or did you say, "Wow, we can expand to Cleveland" because you heard about a property and that kind of drew you in, and you didn't really research the market?
Yeah. Well, the big factor I think was the churches that have music programs. We have a couple here in town that do that. But up in Cleveland, they don't seem to put out any advertisement. Like I said, they just get them from their parishioners. Well, that,
and one they didn't know about.
Yeah. That. And they've got very low overhead. And so that was the problem, as far as our kind of structure of the business. And so what I had to do is, all right, I tried to implement programs that would kind of offset that, offer things that nobody else is doing. But then that puts a strain on cash flow. And so finally I just said, all right, we're going to stop here. We're going to pull everything back to Chattanooga so that I can focus on these programs, like our online music lessons, like our music ladder system and stuff like that.
Well, just briefly about Cleveland still, you're a commercial player, a for-profit entrepreneur coming in,
right,
seeking to make a profit and providing a service.
Yeah.
But the competition was kind of hard to see. I'm just trying to see if I understand the problem. You couldn't really see it very well because it was really private.
Yeah.
And you didn't know how strong it was, and you really didn't imagine, wow, we've got Lee College with all these smart students up here, and a lot of churches, of course, from the Church of God, a very musical group of Christian people. And so that you didn't quite anticipate that would be the strength sort of against your business,
right,
John Colston.
Yeah, that's it in a nutshell. I mean, we went in there. Obviously, with some of these people teaching privately at their church and out of their homes, they're much lower rate than we were, and so there again, we're trying to do things beyond just coming in and taking a private lesson and leaving.
Well, how can you advise my listener, John Colston of Music Instruction Studio, about online marketing? What are some of the mistakes you've made in the past regarding that? And what is the current state of outreach in your business? And what kind of lessons can my listener get from you?
Well, the first thing is, starting in 2004, the main marketing we did was print media. We did a lot of newspaper. We've done radio. We've done television. but print media, we did stuff
the homeschool newsletter.
Yeah, homeschool newsletter. We did Mint magazine. That was real profitable for us. But then as times changed, and with the web and Google, you had all these services coming out there for $200-300 a month. We can come in, we can put you number one on Google. Well, I fell for that for about 2 months, and then I decided to educate myself. So I started going out and getting the books.
Back up. All right.
Yeah.
What were these? What was the pitch, and how was the service provided, and then why did you back away?
Well,
be specific.
Well, basically they come in and they would update your Google landing page. Like when somebody would type in music lessons Chattanooga, it would pop up and they'd have ads for you. They'd make sure you're updated with your hours and your place of business and your photos of your business and stuff like that. Well, what I found out was that I could do that all for free on my own, but I had to educate myself. And so, in other words, I started going out and getting a lot of books, audio books, listening to that, watching seminars, going to one. I flew out to Mesa, Arizona, and attended a 3-day conference on just marketing your music school. And those were the things that really put us over the top. So instead of paying somebody $200 a month, I just spent a couple of hours a day, and I would go in and update pictures on our Google page, landing page. Like now, Google has changed so much in the last 2 years. If you type music lessons Chattanooga, it comes up and it says, it'll list the places. It'll only give you 3 organic places, and there's these little maps and stuff. So you click on us, it'll take you to a map, show us where we're at, and then I had to go in and put like hours, if we took credit cards, if we just services that we offered. So that was kind of the big push. So as I started doing that, and as times kept changing, I began to market more and more on the internet.
Well, this is David Tulis. We're talking with John Colston of Music Instruction Studio that has been in service to families and individuals all across the Chattanooga area now since 2004. Now, let me ask about finding teachers. People may know how to do something. They may know how to play an instrument, but teaching is a skill. I think probably the public school system that has teachers from UT with their bachelors of science, they're sort of dumbed down, and there's a sort of mind numbing process that takes place there through the teaching, the pedagogical part of their training. But I do think knowing how to teach is important. How do you find teachers who know how to teach, but have the skill, but then also know how to interact with the student, not waste the time, not talk too much? I remember once John Colston, my son, had a teacher, a very sweet lady, but more than half of the time in the lesson was involved in conversation about this and that.
Right.
And so clearly we were not happy. How do you find someone who knows how to use the time well and to teach?
Well, in in 2004, we did ads in the newspaper and the classifieds. We did Craigslist, stuff like that. But what I have found recently that I just started using is Facebook has a job service. So you can go under Facebook jobs, and the last 2 teachers I have gotten from Facebook jobs. And what I'm looking for in a teacher is a personality. They got to have a personality. Got to connect with kids, because our kids today are so wrapped up in YouTube, Xbox, whatever, TV show that they're into. And so what we're trying to do is build a community now out of our students. And this is some of the things that we're hoping that we can have older students start to mentor to younger students.
Does that mean more classes and less individual instruction recommendations? Not
necessarily, but it would mean like meetup times where we just get around, have a bunch of instruments laid around. It's like, hey, why don't you try this? Here's a violin. You ever thought about trying to play violin? And just trying to create little bands and just get a community around it where we can pour into the students. What we've had to do with the teaching mode is break that in the sense of, the days of the old school piano teacher who's got the pencil up underneath their hands to make sure that their hands don't droop. That's gone. And you got to have a personality. The kids have got to love it. You got to keep them engaged. Otherwise they're not going to hang with you. The kid gets in the car after the lesson and mom says, "Hey, how was lessons? What'd you do?" It was fine. That's all they say. So we've had to do things to also bring the parents in to engage the parents. You know, so we're like,
well, what
little trophy thing? Yeah.
Okay, I'm holding up here a trophy that says your name here, Music Instruction Studios 2017. Okay, what's that about, John?
Now, that is part of what we call the music ladder system. An acquaintance of mine in South Carolina come up with the this music ladder system. And so here, let me show you this little paper here. It's these wristbands, and it's almost like martial arts. They go through this,
live on Facebook.
Yeah, they go through these little levels, and they start at 3 months, and they go 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, and so on and so forth. And at certain intervals, they get a trophy. Now, this is a 6-month trophy, and then I think you were holding up the big one.
Yeah, it's about the size of a 150 millimeter shell, not quite as heavy.
Yeah,
about 4 feet tall.
Yeah, there it is back there.
In the window.
No, that's a 5-year trophy, and we have trophies. We actually gave out a 9-year trophy earlier in the year. So that kind of keeps the students engaged because they get excited about the wristbands. They get excited about getting trophies, but also it acts as a receipt to the parents because the parent sees this and they say, "Oh, yeah," and they take pictures, and they put them up on Facebook, and they share them.
Are there friendships among the students that you have in your music instruction studio, John, good enough for maybe 2 or 3 of your students to form a little impromptu band?
That's the goal. That is our goal that we're working on. We do have a couple over the last couple of years. We have a couple of little bands that have sprung up in the studio, but it's what has happened in the past is they come in, they take the lesson, they leave, and they're not mingling. The closest they come to mingling would be a recital. So we're having to do other things, these meetups and
well,
whatnot.
talk a little bit about that, because I think the internet in a way drains relationships from humankind, but they also, I guess, they also allow others. And it sounds like you're trying to reacting against this sort of draining of humanity from society by having these meetups. So what's a meetup? What does it look like? Who comes? Do the moms twiddle their thumbs in the corner waiting for their teenage sons? Or
well, that's kind of, well, the first meetup has not occurred yet. This is all, I have another acquaintance that I have in California, Tyler and Chris. They have a real nice music school, and they're kind of coaching me on this. And so we're planning on that being in the first first part of January, first quarter of January. We'll have a couple. And what I'd like to do is start off like maybe 1 or 2 a quarter, and just come in, play some music. Everybody bring their instruments, make a joyful noise, so to speak. And
what if you had something like that, not at the music instruction studio, but off site, like at Carl's restaurant, or Panera in Hickson, or someplace like that?
Yeah, we do go over to a couple of nursing homes, and we'll have little performances outside of recitals, especially during Christmas, because our recitals usually fall in June and January. And so we usually do something like that with, and that's kind of giving back out to the community, and the instructors, they handle it, and they do a really good job.
Well, I think that's a good thing. I have a 14-year-old son, John, and we're asking, my wife Jeanette and I are asking, what can we do for him to extend God's grace to people? Where is the interest in other people? Where's the selflessness? He has an old grandmother who's the neighbor, and there's just not really enough. So it sounds like you're seeing that lack among many young people, right, many teenagers, and encourage them that through the fiddle or the guitar or the drums that they're learning from your instructors, that they can make some noisy impression at a nursing home, and that would be a gracious act.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I'll tell students is, have you played for your parents this week? And they'll just look at me and say, what? I say, have you played for your parents? I don't care if it's Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. You need to play something, and because it's not just about sitting in your room and playing. Eventually, you've got to get out on the stage. And so we say our recitals are no pressure, but I try to push them a little bit. It's like, you need to go out and experience it. If they're nervous, then come to one. Just come and watch, and hopefully get the bug that way. And now with today's technology, though, and as we find that people are getting more and more sucked in on the internet, and they don't want to get out of the house, we're having to go to them, and that's why we've started implementing the online lessons.
Say something about that, John.
Well, I got a little picture here. This is
he's prepared.
Yeah, this is me doing an online lesson, and what we do is, for those who don't live in the area that want to take from us, they can go online and set up for a virtual lesson. And then for our current students, they can, that are And right now we're just doing this with guitar students that are, they can come online and just watch a series of videos. Like this is from a series I did, a 6-part series on triads. And
what's that?
Triads is it's the basis of a chord. It's a 3-tone chord. And so I show them how to play triads all up and down on the guitar.
Well, this is David Tulis, and we're talking with John Colston. So, John, just give me a recap now of your business. You've been in existence with your wife Marissa, and you started this shop in 2004. So you've been in business for 13 years.
Yes.
You are turning a profit.
Mm-hmm.
Tell my listener about how long it takes to turn a profit and why it's worth it in his field. I mean, it is in your field. You're a music lover. What about in his field? What constellations does he need to have in mind as he waits for the money coming in to cover all the expenses and then have a little bit left over?
Well, if I can encourage any business owner out there, this is my, I'll never forget I was in Chattanooga State and I was in a market or mass communications class. And the instructor at the time, he pulled up a stat on PowerPoint. It said 1 in 10 businesses will make it. So that means 9 will fail. And so I was sitting there, I was like, okay. In my mind, I said, I got to go start 10 businesses. And that's how my logic was. And so the first 4 of the businesses that I started, they all failed. Number 1, it was because I was having to eat every dime that was coming in to support myself. And so therefore I couldn't, grow. I couldn't bring into new things. There was a computer business. There was a marketing business with doing television commercials and whatnot. So
what was the third one?
Third one was
I forgot.
No, it was a run in music lessons. I was trying to do them out of the house. It just in a real.
You didn't have scale, and on the ones before, you didn't have enough capital.
Well, the main difference, the biggest difference I can offer any business owner out there is to educate yourself. Educate yourself. So I read in the first 4 businesses, I read maybe 1 Zig Ziglar book, and that was it. In this business, I averaged 2 to 3 a month. That's the big difference.
Oh, well, now you're going to have to tell my listener what 2 are that you want to recommend, John Colston.
The E-Myth Revisited.
The E-Myth Revisited.
Yeah,
jot that down.
Yeah, that is
E-Myth Revisited.
That's the number 1. And then Success Principles, Jack Canfield.
What was that again?
The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. Those are fantastic books. And then anything with web marketing. Anything, get it, read it, absorb it. It's your new best friend.
And I want to mention to you also that legacy media has advantages over the new media. The floor on marketing has been raised by the internet. Everybody's on the internet. You've got to be there. Everybody has to be on Facebook. Everybody has to have a website. But still, to reach beyond that raised floor, you got to come to people like me, David Tulis, with Through the Radio. We write great commercials. We have a terrific listener. That's you. And then there's another guy, somewhat like you, who's also a listener. Get him into your shop. Contact me here at the station or any of our fine marketing team, David Tulis. John Colston, thanks for joining us.
Oh, no problem.
And how can my listener get a hold of you?
954-9939 and www.musicinstruct.com.
One more time.
Okay, 423-954-9939 and www.musicinstruct.com.
And now some important
Tennessee
messages.
Valley's news talk leader, Nooga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4, 92.7 FM's news now.
On Signal Mountain, the police department says a man was shot to death inside his home. They got the 911 call at about 6:27 p.m. They found the bullet-riddled body lying on the ground inside. They said there's no indication of foul play right now. The investigation is ongoing. The victim's relatives are being notified. New developments in school projects. Albert Kaiser, the county finance director at the county commission meeting on Wednesday, said the county's agreed to supply $10 million to the school system. He says the county schools will repay the county from the property tax revenues. This means the school system has a total of $125 million to complete the myriad projects they're endeavoring to finish by at least 2021, one of which moving CSLA students to Tyner Middle. The David Tulis Show on weekdays, 9 to 11. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News Talk 92.7 and 95.3 HD4. Now.
Traffic, news, and information. Nooga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM.
Expect a cloudy and cool start to your Thursday. We'll finally dry out for a while.